Hey love, welcome. I'm Greta and I help girls and women learn about and connect with their periods and menstrual cycles. I help them to step into their truest selves and learn how to take care of the deeper parts of themselves. So if that's something that you want to, then subscribe and stick around. So how are you going to know when your period will come each month? Well, there is a lot of physical and emotional signs. You might feel bloated and crampy in your low belly or your low back, tired, irritable, easily tearful, and lower on your emotional spectrum. So feeling those lower feelings. Knowing the physical and emotional signs of your period coming is helpful because it not only gives you a heads up that your period is coming, but it gives you a reminder to prepare and to take care of yourself a little extra. That could look like making sure you're stocked up on pads and tampons and freeing up some time in your week to rest and relax. What will be super helpful to you in knowing when your period will come each month is tracking your period. And you can track your period easily by using an app or a calendar or a journal. Once you have several of your cycles tracked, you can then figure out how long your average period length is, so the usual number of days that your period lasts, as well as your average cycle length. So that's the number of days between the start of your last period and the beginning of your most recent period. And once you know the average number of days in your cycle, then you can easily predict when your next cycle will come by counting out the number of days of your average cycle length from the start of your last period. That'll give you a really good idea of when your next period will be coming. Now, it's important to remember that your body is not a clock, and it's going to have some variation, especially if you just started getting your periods. So it's not going to be exact every month, and you might not be able to predict it exactly, but this will give you a really good idea of the time it'll very likely come. It's also just really valuable to know how long your periods typically last and the variation that you might have between periods, and keeping track of when you do have irregular periods or when you miss a period or any of that stuff. So knowing these things helps you to know how things are going inside, and it helps you to have something to show someone who might be helping you with any period problems that you might have. Now, what can be even more helpful than just being able to predict when your next period will be, and more helpful than just knowing these averages of cycle length and period length, is gathering even more information on yourself and taking note more and more of your story of your cycle and your period through a very valuable type of cycle tracking called MCA, or menstrual cycle awareness. Now, I have a whole video on how to do this type of cycle tracking because it's my favorite type of cycle tracking and it's the kind that I do. So this type of tracking not only helps you to know when your next period will be, but it also helps you to keep track of how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, and creatively all throughout your menstrual cycle. Because remember, your period is just one phase of the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle. So while our periods tend to get all of the tracking attention, tracking the entirety of your cycle gives you mind, body, and emotional awareness that can support you in so many areas of your life, like school, work, sports, hobbies, goals, and your dreams. And that's because each phase of your cycle puts you in a different hormonal state. And each hormonal state brings out different parts of your personality, your physical health, your emotional health, and your mental health, which affects your energy and your confidence, your creativity, and so much more. Again, I have a whole video on how to do menstrual cycle awareness journaling, which I will link on the screen and down below so you can check that out and follow along and get started for yourself. Just to give you a little snippet to see if it's something that you're interested in diving deeper into. It's basically a daily journaling practice where you're noting how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally. You can note the activities you did in the day and what felt good to you and what didn't. It's like little snapshots of how you felt that day, what you did, how you were feeling in your mind, and how you're feeling in your body, and which emotions were present. It's just a really good picture of you in that day of your cycle. You mark each entry with the day of your cycle that you're on and the date that you're in. And this is the piece of it that really does help you too, to track when your next period will come and gives you an idea of your cycle lengths and your period lengths. So you get it all in one. So whether you just want to use your body's clues to know when your period will be coming next, an app, a calendar, or a journal, it's totally up to you how you want to track your cycle. You can try out each way and just see what works best for you. There's definitely power and comfort in finding some predictability within your period and your menstrual cycle. Our periods and our menstrual cycles can be something that makes us feel like something's happening to us, or like we're existing in something that's totally out of our control. So tracking it helps us to understand the rhythms and understand the different phases of our cycles and how we're affected and how that's kind of held within a predictable pattern, and to see how we're working within that pattern, within that rhythm. And with that level of predictability and understanding and awareness does bring comfort, which is really, really valuable when it comes to our cycles. I encourage you to test out some of these options and see what works best for you. I hope this video gave you a little introduction to cycle tracking and helped you to see that there are many ways that you can track your cycle. That is all for now, loves. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in my next video. Ever wondered why women get periods, or what a period feels like, or how to know when your period will come each month? Subscribe to Dear Love for answers to all your powerful questions.